When it comes to luxury sedans, understated is usually the way to go, and that's what Audi did with the outgoing A8L. With this new facelifted model, they've changed things up a lot. This grille, it's new and it's unmissable. There are other changes across the car that we'll get into. Importantly, how does all the tech that the A8L packed transfer to the driving experience? We're going to get into that, but before that, please like this video, share it and subscribe to the OD YouTube channel. First off, the changes are largely cosmetic with more personalization options added and some optional extras being added to the spec list, but we'll get to that. Like we said, the grille is all new with chrome winglets instead of those horizontal slats, which really does most of the heavy lifting in making the A8L as eye-catching as it is. Sharper headlights, more vertical air intakes, new 19-inch wheels, chrome along the sides, and new customizable OLED rear light signatures round off the changes. Inside, Audi's signature uncluttered modern look with glossed black surfaces that come to life when the screens are on make the A8L a classy place to be. The revolving AC vents are a nice touch in that same theme, and even the ambient lighting is restrained. But none of that is new. What is new are the heads-up display and additional options for trim, upholstery and the like, down to the extra display screens that can be spec'd for the virtual cockpit. Now, of course, there's been no change to the main USP of the A8L, and that's this fantastic back seat. Now, in terms of the seat comfort itself, it's maybe not quite as sink into plush soft as, say, an S-Class's rear seat, but the A8L does have a trick up its sleeve, and it's the only car to offer this level of recliner mode. Now, this takes you into full business class. Now, to show you that, I will have to take my shoes off, but that's a small price to pay to really enjoy the only car in the segment to offer a full seat massage, which you can get just via the menu. It really takes business class comfort on the road to the next level. And we haven't even begun to talk about all the personalization that's available, be it in the matrix lights, in the sunblind operations, the fantastic twin pane sunroof, and the fact that the screens can now also screen content from Netflix and via your phone directly. Now that we've got our feet up and we're truly relaxing in the back of the A8L, we can talk about the ride quality, which is another huge part of this car's experience. Now, in Comfort Plus, it does a couple of things to actually keep both the front occupants and, importantly, the rear occupants of the car level. So what the car does is it reduces the pitching motion that you feel under hard acceleration or braking. It also will lean into a corner by about 3 degrees to negate the body roll that you feel. Now, we've tried it and it definitely works. You feel the difference in Comfort Plus versus some of the other drive modes. Now, one thing worth noting is that you do feel some of the smaller and sharper road irregularities filter through. Stuff like cat eyes and sharper edges of potholes definitely catches this air suspension out. What stayed the same in the A8L is its motivation. It still uses a 3-litre V6 with 340 PS and 500 Nm of torque, mated to an 8-speed DCT with quattro all-wheel drive. Now, while not many owners are going to find themselves in this seat, it is heartening to know that the A8L is still creamy smooth and super silent. This engine makes its peak torque at 1350 RPM, and it's got a wide band that stretches to above 4000 RPM, and that's great because it means that you can be pottering around in the city at 60-80 with just above 1000 revs on the clock. It really does feel like the engine murmurs when you ask for a little more. Now, the responses from the engine do feel quite relaxed, and that would perfectly suit this car's role as a chauffeur-driven car because it makes driving smoothly quite easy. On the flip side, it does mean that if you want a quick overtake, you do have to make deliberate inputs at the throttle. That being said, when you do press down on it, it goes and it sounds pretty good, and it revs to about a 6,500 RPM redline, and you get to triple digit speeds very, very quickly. I think in that respect, the A8L might have a leg up on some of its diesel powered rivals, just because it still sounds so smooth and good right through the rev range. We still managed the 0 to 100 kmph run in 6.7 seconds, which is a little down on the claimed 5.7 seconds, but it still proves that this 2-ton sedan can move when you poke it. Now, this is the first time that we're driving an A8L in this particular spec, which is that it's got the optional predictive active air suspension, but it doesn't have the optional rear wheel steer. So that does mean that you have to take account for the fact that the A8L is a large car riding on a 3.1 meter long wheelbase. So when you're taking U-turns, you will probably end up in the other lane. The A8L just might surprise you by docking in just when you least expect it to. Now, the spec that we're driving does include the optional predictive active air suspension, which is essentially adaptive. There's a camera that scans the road ahead for stuff like speed breakers, and it automatically raises the car, so there's much less chances of it grounding out. That being said, you do have to take care over speed breakers, because at the end of the day, this is a long wheelbase car and it is pretty low slung. Between the drive modes, Comfort Plus seems like it brings the most to the table, because it really reduces the pitching motion that you can feel when accelerating, braking, or even cornering for that matter. In fact, in Comfort Plus, the suspension can counteract body roll. Yup, the car will lean away from a corner to negate those cornering G-forces that you could feel in a car this big and this heavy. In the all-important ride quality department, this car does ride on 19-inch wheels with 45-section sidewall tires, and the ride quality is plush, but it doesn't filter out some of the smaller and sharper imperfections like we spoke about from our rear seat impression. On an undulating highway, you might want to slot the car into dynamic, because that firms things up just a smidge. It essentially removes some of that plushness away from the suspension, which means that the car can then tackle undulating highways at high speeds without really introducing any of that bobbing motion that can sometimes happen in air suspension cars. This gen Audi A8L is the oldest at this point and is likely to be the last IC engined A8. The new gen S-Class offers more flash, a diesel option, and is brand new. The BMW 7 Series is also long in the tooth, but a new car is on the horizon. The new Audi A8L, however, is still at least 2 years away, and it's been previewed by the absolutely stunning Grand Sphere concept. In the meantime, the A8L is available as a base celebration model at a price that's far lower than rivals. The fully loaded technology model clocks in at Rs 1.57 CR, but with the options ticked off, it's expensive. But, and this is important, it's also got the best rear seat experience in our books.